new week of football is here for the Potters, and with that, they have got a double match week. Up first, we welcome the visit of Portsmouth, who, like Hull, are without a win in this Championship League season. And then we travel to South Wales to go and take on Swansea on Saturday. So with that, let's get straight into the match preview. Now, it's been a tough start for Narcis Palach with 2 losses in his first 2 games as head coach of Stoke City, but you can no means judge him on that or anything like that, because at the end of the day, it's a new style, there's a new direction that we're going in, and obviously, as he said himself, the players are going to adjust, and it's going to take a while for them to kind of get the play that he wants out of his players. So for now, I think it is one of them where you judge it off, obviously, the 4 halves that we've got. The first half that we had against Hull was something that looked promising. I think we were, in a way, the better team in that first half. We had a lot more of the chances. I think the likes of Million Manu, Bae Jun Ho had that freedom to get on the ball and get into the space and obviously work their magic, like of course what we saw last season. But I do also think that obviously them other 3 halves, the second half that we had against Hull and then the 2 halves against Middlesbrough were total different. We weren't able to kind of threaten or do much against their backline, especially against Middlesbrough. It's a tough one, but by no means can you judge Narcis Palach. I think the style, what he's bringing in, is going to be something that is exciting. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about getting that first win. If you can get that first win against Portsmouth, who haven't won a game yet, that's a great start. And it's one of them where that one win comes and all the pressure goes, all that silly negativity, all that silly pressure of people calling people in the board out, all that like silliness, all that negativity that's not needed just goes, and the win and getting that momentum, especially heading into an international break. If we can get, say, 4 points against obviously Portsmouth and then Swansea, that'll be really solid, really good to then work off, and it gives us a building block. I think it's just based off obviously that Middlesbrough game where we didn't really look threatening at all. It's obviously difficult to build that momentum. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to get. It's a new week, a new momentum to be built. Under Narcis Palach, and obviously, hopefully, we can go into the international break looking good and looking solid. But one thing on this, I think, obviously, a new style, and of course, something that is going to take a while to be adjusted by the players. But we have got a lot more players on offer now compared to the start of the season, where you look at who we had there, a couple of players that you'd say maybe aren't in the position that probably is their best position. I'd probably say now you look at it, we've got Gallagher back, Rose and Stevens are in the fold as well. So it's one of them where Narcis Palach has got a lot more options, and it's one of them where kind of use the squad to the best of his ability. And in games like this, where of course we're playing on a Wednesday, then on a Saturday, you'd expect rotation, you'd expect kind of changes, which I've put in my starting 11 predictions, which will be coming out very, very shortly in this video. But I do just think that it's about the reaction of the players now, who's going to show what they're made of. And you know what, there's a lot of character in that team, and hopefully it's good and positive, and it's one of them where just take that negativity away. It's not needed, it doesn't help anyone in the ground or anyone around the club. Just take that pressure away, and a win against Portsmouth at home just, you know what, brings us back together in terms of removing that negativity and bringing in the positivity. So for me, I think the main thing on kind of today's game is that reaction. Is there going to be a reaction? And I think it will happen. I really do think it is. Am I being optimistic or too optimistic? But you know what? I think there will be, and I think that's what Narcis Palach expects. I think that's the kind of bare minimum, if I'm being totally honest. So with that, let's preview our opposition, seeing as they've not won a game, but we said that when we played against Hull. Now, we take on a Portsmouth side who came top in League One last season, and it's a tough one to judge them so soon, because if you look at their run of fixtures, which I was totally unaware of, that's a real difficult kind of 6 or 7 games that they've had. It's really tough, and you know what? They've shown a lot of character, and that character came out against Sheffield United in their 0-0 draw on last Saturday. So you know what? I think, in a way, if you look at the table and in terms of the teams that they've played, where they are and higher up in the table, compared to where we are, they'll see this as, you know what, right, we've got through that tough run of games, let's build something. So, like us, we want to build something, we want to start something from this game, and I think Portsmouth will be looking at that as well. Now, their manager, John Messina, it's one of them where he came in last year in January, similar time to when Schumacher did, and he went on a run of form, got them games in, got the wins in, and obviously got promoted into the Championship with Portsmouth. So, you know what, I don't think we've seen all of what Portsmouth have brought to the table and will bring to the table in this Championship season. I think, obviously, the got a penalty, I think it was a penalty, against Leeds in the first game of the season and drew that game. You know what, games like that where you can get a point, when you look at it at the end of the season, them points against the big teams, that could be something huge. And you know what, I think it's similar to the Oxford game in terms of previewing and looking at it. It's, you don't really know what you're going to expect, but you definitely can't underestimate this team. And I think if you look at the squads, you can't compare them, because how many times have we said on paper we've got so much more quality, but the better side, who you think don't have as much quality, have shown the difference in a way. So I think with this one, it's going to be an interesting one in terms of how they approach the game. Will they look to allow us to have the ball and say, well, we're away from home, let's try get a scrappy win or get a hard-fought win, where defensively they were fantastic, which they've shown several times this season. Let's try get a goal or two and kill the game off, and a nice solid 2-0 away win, which isn't the most beautiful, is the way that they want to get the 3 points. So, you know what, I think you look at their team and who they've got there, they have got a good balance, a nice bit of balance, the likes of Marlon Pack Marlon Pack in the midfield. Is it Will Norris? I'm pretty sure his name is, who's in goal as well. Some top saves from him, especially on Saturday against Sheffield United, kept them in the game. So it's one of them where you've got that experience in there that have played in the Championship, mixed in with the likes of, obviously, Josh Murphy. It is Josh Murphy? Yeah, it is the right brother. Josh Murphy, and of course Sam Silvera, a player that Stoke were linked with before he moved to Middlesbrough, and of course Middlesbrough loaned him out to Portsmouth. So they've got that quality, they've got a player that, or players that are difference makers, and we need to be really wary of them. And I think if they are going to go for a tactic of maybe Stoke have the ball and do look to play on the front foot, if we can't break them down and they beat us on a counter-attack, and with that pace of the likes of Murphy, then they could be a real threat. And you know what? Sheffield United obviously looked a real threat on the counter-attack against them, but they were defensively strong. So it's one of them where it's going to be really interesting in terms of how both teams approach the game, and in terms of who's going to take the ball, who's going to want to keep the ball and keep hold of possession. Will Portsmouth, being away from home, look to allow us to have the ball and allow us to kind of go, right, you've got to play through us? And it's about kind of the press that Portsmouth have and their moments that Portsmouth take to obviously win the game in a way. So I think this is going to be a real tough one. I think there's an opportunity there for Stoke to take the game, but also I think we've got to be so wary of this Portsmouth side. Now, starting 11 prediction time is one of them where it's going to be tough, because every week I think there's been one game that I've got it bang on the lineup, and obviously Narcis Palac has a lot more players on offer that he could put in the side, and especially with us having 2 games, it's one of them where you'd reckon players that maybe haven't had as many minutes this season may be in contention to kind of start and get in there, and possibly players are rested, ready for the game on Swansea. I'm not too sure, but with that, I'm going to go for Victor Johansson in between the sticks. As always, a real solid keeper, and maybe if Portsmouth are the ones that are going to attack us or are going to try and get us on the break and have potentially the better chances, obviously Victor Johansson is going to be required to keep us in the game. So back four-wise, this is where it gets interesting. This is where I'm thinking there will be changes. It's a tough one because it's not these single players that have been the kind of at fault or anything, or it's not all about them. I just think the style that we've been playing and the way that we kind of been in possession and out of possession, I just think maybe this change maybe might help us a little bit better. So with that, as a back two in terms of the 2 centre halves, I'm going to go for Ben Gibson and Ashley Phillips. I'm going to bring Phillips into the fold. of course, wasn't involved due to obviously the concussion protocol. So I think he'll come straight in. And I think, you know what, the pace of him and the power of him as well could be something that we kind of need and could bring us a good bit of, not identity, but a good bit of pace about how we are in possession. Then, in terms of the fullbacks, and I'm looking at this one in terms of Eric Bocat on the left of the two centre halves, and then going to put Ben Wilmot there. Of course, played there, has been a right back before, but you also look at how Stoke are in possession, and it's more of a back three. And it was obviously Shamadou that tucked in, and Bocat was right up there against Middlesbrough. So it's definitely a style of play that they want, and a tactical move that Narcis Palac wants from his players. So I think that is why I'm going to put Wilmot there. He can slot in as a bit of a three at the back when we're in possession. Of course, is used to playing in the right back role as well. And I think all three centre backs offer us something different. The leadership of Ben Gibson, the experience, a left-footed centre-back, the pace, the power, the height of Ashley Phillips, and also the composure on the ball. And that's similar to obviously Ben Wilmot. And you know what? Sometimes, if you've got Bocat really high up the pitch and there's space there, Ben Wilmot, we have seen before, can spray a fantastic ball out wide. And switching the play could be, or getting the ball moving and kind of switching it and rotating it around could be where we kind of catch Portsmouth out and are able to threaten their back line. So for that, I'm putting Ben Wilmot in there as the right back, but also as in a way a third centre back for the game in terms of in possession. So in terms of the two ahead of him, I'm going to put it a bit as a 4-4-1-1, as someone in behind the striker. I'm going to go for Tatsuki Seko getting his full debut. I think obviously he came off the bench against, who was it, sorry? It wasn't Middlesbrough, it was Hull, that's the one. He came on for Jordan Thompson, who I think he'll play alongside, and I think they'll complement each other. And I think it's one of them that, against Middlesbrough, maybe we did need a little bit of a tempo to who we needed in the midfield in terms of players getting on the ball and turning or looking to break the lines or looking to find the space. And I think maybe the more defensive side of Jordan Thompson's game could be complemented by Tatsuki Seko getting on the ball, wanting to maybe turn, and maybe having them two different dynamics in the midfield could provide us with that better freedom to obviously break through the lines and get on the ball, and obviously have a bit of tempo to our play, which maybe we didn't have against Middlesbrough. And then the kind of two wide men, it looks like Milian Manouf is having a bit of a late call, and I think, would you risk him? Will we see him on the bench possibly? Maybe. I think we could do. So that's why I'm going to put Kumas on the right and then Bae Jun Ho on the left. I think Manouf, you probably say that just with the game against Swansea, you want to rest him. You don't want to kind of force him in and hope that he can be 100%, and if he's not, and then he gets an injury and is able to impact the game, you'd obviously hope that we maybe just kind of nurture him and make sure that he's all right and 100% before he's thrown straight in there. So Kumas and Juno, I like how Juno, especially against Hull in that first half, came a bit deeper and kind of got on the ball and looked to move the play, and Juno's so good at that, and his footwork's been fantastic. But I think obviously we want to see more of them too. Kumas, we've already seen what he brings to the table, and hopefully obviously against Portsmouth he's able to show that. So I think them two as the wide men. In behind Tom Cannon, who I'm going to put up top, I think just give him a run of games. Give him a run of games and a run of chances, and he'll take one, and hopefully he's able to get more chances against Portsmouth, because I think in a way he's kind of feeding off scraps. It's very hard to able to show what you're made of when it's not like we're creating a huge amount of chances anyway. It's not as though all the chances are coming to him. We're not a huge amount of chances created in kind of expected goals, if I'm being totally honest. So I would put him back in there. Obviously Sam Gallagher could start up top, but I do think give Tom Cannon a run of games, build that kind of confidence and build that bit of momentum and sharpness to his game, then I think we will get the Tom Cannon that, you know what, could be a threat this season. And then in behind him, I'm going to go for Andrew Moran. Of course, Milian Manouf has played there before, but also Moran did come on against Middlesbrough and did play there, and in a way it was a bit of a kind of 4-4-2 in a way, with obviously the striker alongside someone else. Moran could do that. The pace of him, the skill, the talent of him, getting on the ball. I think, you know what, he is the man that maybe we have been missing a little bit, and I think, you know what, against Portsmouth, will he be able to find the space to get on the ball and work his magic alongside Cannon, alongside Kumas, alongside Jun Ho? Maybe he is what we needed, a bit of fresh air. But I do also think that you look the players off the bench, the likes of obviously Sam Gallagher that we could have, maybe Manu if obviously he's fit for the game. I think sometimes we've looked at the bench in terms of something fresh to come on and maintain something. And maybe against Hull we needed that, like obviously Hull did with Liam Miller. Fantastic. He came on and he worked his magic, and obviously they won. So I think in this one, it's not all about kind of starting your best players in a way. It's not all about having your players that maybe aren't 100% and we don't know what happens behind closed doors. I think obviously having the likes of, say, Manouf that could come off the bench could be key to us actually winning this game, and it's quite a tight game. Looking for someone fresh to come on and change it and be the difference maker. So that's the team I'm going to go for. I think there's a kind of competition for places now, and obviously no players guaranteed a place in the team, and I do feel Narcis Palac will obviously look to make changes and rotate the side to add something fresh to obviously what the performance was against Middlesbrough. And finally, as always, we've got our score predictions. Now, it's a tough one again. Obviously, you always want to say that we are going to win. And I think, as I've mentioned, it's going to be a tight one. And I can't see, obviously, I'm not going to undermine Portsmouth, because at the end of the day, they might see this as a game that they will win or should win. And an away from home win, a tough, a hard-fought win, and them getting the 3 points could be key to them building something this season. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Stoke. I think it might be a little bit scrappy, and I think we might go into the break 1-1 with kind of honours even, and it's quite fair. And I think you'll look for a bit of magic to win the game and get the 3 points, and I think Stoke will have that in this game. So there we have it then, a big game or a big week coming up for Narcis Palac and Stoke. One that, you know what, let's get behind the boys, and one that let's be optimistic for. Let's remove that negativity, remove that silliness that's coming out about obviously certain people. Let's not do that. Let's get positive, let's get behind the team, and let's build something ahead of the international break. So Portsmouth first, and then a South Wales trip to Swansea. Let's have it. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.